Hello and welcome. This is Nick from Top Notch Sports, and this is the 2024 tight end prospect NFL draft analysis. This is my scouting report for the tight ends that I scouted this year. Okay, so I'm going to go back over my track record. Since I've been starting scouting the tight end position, as I do in every video for all my scouting reports. I'm going to break down every single prospect I watch. Now, if there's a guy I missed that you guys want me to talk about, please let me know in the comment section below. I'm going to talk about everybody here, give you a ranking. But again, I'm going to show you my track record to start. My track record is something that I'm very open about. Okay. No other analyst that you look at will show you their honest, true track record. They barely ever want to do position rankings either because they don't want you to see, hey, I had this guy ranked at 15 when in reality ended up being number 2. Okay. I'm very open. If I missed on somebody, I'm going to show you I missed. And I feel like that's what makes me a better guy to watch than other people because, again, they're hide their stuff. They don't show them. Even the most popular guys, Daniel Jeremiah, Bucky Brooks, they don't do position rankings like this where they go into the extreme detail because if they're wrong, they'll look bad and then they don't want to show it. So, again, I'm willing to be very open and honest, and I critique myself. Now, one thing I do want to mention over the last few years, I've been kind of doing tight ends based off of just pure athleticism because I feel like with the tight end position, if you just got a big guy that can move, they can be really special. And I've been wrong a lot doing that. And I'm gonna be honest, that's where I've gone wrong. So this year I kind of went away from that a little bit in some sense. And you'll see where I kind of go back into more just I'm gonna go a little bit by the tape, but then I'm also gonna still look at some athleticism. So I'm not just purely all about athleticism this year around. I think that's the correction I've made. So here's my track record. Let's go back to 2019. 2019, I had TJ Hawkinson 1, Noah Fant 2, and Irv Smith 3. I think this is a pretty fair assessment. Irv Smith's been played with injuries, so has Noah Fant. But honestly, when they've been healthy, it's probably been Fant 2 and Irv Smith 3. TJ Hawkinson may go down as my favorite tight end I've scouted in my entire life. Okay, honestly, I mean, I absolutely loved what I saw from him as a scout. He can do everything: blocking, catching, everything, route running, etc., etc. 2020, yeah, I know everyone's gonna say I'm wrong, but honestly, to only be off by a 1 is not bad. The only thing I missed on was Cole Kmet over Adam Troutman. I thought Troutman was gonna be good. Then he goes to the Saints, and I was like, hell, you know what? Him, Sean Payton, Drew Brees, but he just never really panned out. And now he's over there in Denver still. Now he's behind a guy that you'll see over here in Greg Dulcich, okay, in Denver. So it's just been really interesting to see his career play out. I honestly loved his tape, and that's why I put him number 1. Cole Kmet was a clear-cut number 1 by most people. He's finally turning around a little bit right now. He played pretty good last year with Justin Fields, but again, really has not had a great career either. So honestly, I feel like, again, one of those two guys, depending on who got the more, the better opportunity, who got more targets, that's who we would be saying is better right now. Unfortunately for Troutman, he hadn't really had a chance. Kmet had a chance last year and finally looked half decent. Alberto really never panned out to be anything. Bryson Hopkins, Bryant, Pinckney, Moss, and Hunter Bryant. Again, none of those guys really ever panned out. 2021, okay? Again, I think I had a pretty good year this year too. Let's just look at the top 4. Kyle Pitts. I know most people are like might say, "Oh, now Pat Freiermuth, he had a little bit more productive." Kyle Pitts was still the most talented. Okay, I'm gonna stand by that. Pat Freiermuth 2. I think I'm still perfectly on track there. Tommy Tremble 3. I think some of you might say, "Well, Brevin Jordan had a little bit better of a year than Tommy Tremble." I still think Tommy Tremble's 3. I mean, as an all-around tight end, Tommy Tremble, I think could be a starter. Brevin Jordan, lost the job just I think a year or two ago. He did pretty good his rookie year, and then they just haven't used him in 2022 or 2023. But I still like Brevin Jordan. And then the rest of the guys you probably barely even know: Nick Eubanks, Matt Bushman, Kenny Yeboah, Quentin Morris, Bradley Moore, and Trey McKitty. You're probably like, who the hell are those guys? Honestly, the most notable might be Trey McKitty over all the other guys. And he was my number 10. So again, the only hiccups you can say maybe McKitty should have been higher than some of these guys. And some could argue maybe Jordan over Tremble, but I would still take Tremble over Jordan. So again, honestly, A+ for 2019 in my opinion. This one small hiccup, but you just say is a big enough hiccup. These two, mixing these two up, I would still say a B+ because the rest of it's not like I commit 10 or Troutman 5. I still think those are the top 2. Maybe just mix those two up. But again, I think it really came down to the situation as well. 2021, honestly, I think personally, A+. Maybe an A. Okay, McKitty should have been maybe a little bit higher, But again, is that just career trajectory, or is that as a prospect? Truly as a prospect, I think he was number 10. I still stand by this decision. The last 2 years, I kind of slipped up a little bit. Okay. 2022, I had Jelani Woods 1. I still like Jelani Woods. I like Jelani Woods. Just can he stay healthy? I mean, last year he was out the entire year, and hopefully he gets a starting job this year. I like him. I like Mo Alley Cox over there in Indianapolis. I know they also have Kylan Branson. But again, to me, Jelani Woods is just how do you not play a guy that's 6'7", fast as hell, and can do a little bit of everything? He is what I said. Everyone was, oh, Darnell Washington. I was saying that Jelani Woods was Darnell Washington before Darnell Washington. And I put both of those guys number 1 because I think they're freaking nature. The only reason why Darnell Washington goes to Pittsburgh, which is a horrible landing spot, and he fell away on the board because he has swollen knees. Swollen knees? Really? Come on. Come on. Are you kidding me? Still as a prospect, I say, how the hell can you not put these guys up there at number 1? As a prospect, they are everything that you want. They may not be the most polished right yet, but they're still everything that you can possibly want in a tight end, especially blocking for Darnell. Woods not so much blocking, but receiving. Greg Dulcich, too, again, really hasn't had a pretty good his rookie year. Never really had a chance since then. I really hope he does. Jeremy Ruckert, 3, goes to the New York Jets. Again, they had Uzama. They had, they have Conklin, right? They had Conklin. So he never really had a chance when he first got over there, which stinks. Hopefully he gets a role eventually here. Trey McBride, 4. Okay, McBride, 4. Most people's consensus number 1. I didn't love his tape. Only true guy who's really had a chance to yet, besides a guy that's a little bit lower on my list that I really slipped up on. Weidermeyer, Cole Turner, Austin Allen, Cade Otton, who I actually don't mind. Again, good situation. And Isaiah Likely. Okay, I was off with Isaiah Likely, and I was off on somebody else coming up. Chase Allen, Charlie Kohler, and oh boy, Jake Ferguson. 2022 may have been my worst year. Okay, it might have been my worst year. Ferguson ends up being pretty dang good. Otton ends up being pretty half decent. Again, because of situation, I think Otton had, a really good situation in Tampa. He had a direct spot to start. McBride, he was behind Ertz for a little bit, but again, Ertz was old, so he kind of had a direct chance to start. Unfortunately for Rucker, he had to sit, so that stinks. Woods has been hurt. Ferguson has earned his spot. So Ferguson, I was absolutely wrong with. So 2022, I'm gonna give myself I'm gonna be honest, C minus. I can't say F. I mean, I still think Woods is a great prospect. I still think Dulcich is a great prospect. I think Rucker could still be a starter. I think when everything all ends out, they can end up being pretty good if given an opportunity. Now, the question is, will they ever be given an opportunity? I can't decide that. But if I'm a GM right now and they're out there for cheap, or I can play these guys as a head coach, I'm playing them. And last but not least, Darnell Washington, number 1 in 2023, Michael Mayer 2, Kincaid 3, Kraft 4, Laporta 5, Musgrave 2, Shoemaker Millingsley. And everyone right now is oh, Sam Laporta, how did you miss him? Everybody was missing this guy. I didn't when he went the first round, I was like, what the hell? But you know what though? I still like the Lions draft because they needed a tight end, right? They needed a running back. They needed a linebacker. I know it felt like reach after reach after reach, but I said they're going out and getting their guys that are going to fit their system, and they're all going to be starters. And that's exactly what happened. They all became starters, and that's absolutely phenomenal when you bring in 3 or 4 guys and they all become starters for you day 1. So Washington again, I like the guy. I just don't over there in Pittsburgh. I think his career trajectory for his production is going to go way down. Michael Mayer, number 2, looked good over there in Las Vegas. Again, you put Mayer in Pittsburgh and you put Washington on Las Vegas, and Washington's looking amazing, and Mayer looks like crap. Okay, Kincaid going to Buffalo. That was unfortunate too a little bit because they don't really utilize their tight end. I think this year we're going to see a little bit more of utilization, and also that they had Dawson Knox who they just paid. So it was a little bit unfortunate in that aspect, but they spent such a high pick on him. Hopefully he turns out for them. He's pretty dang good. Tucker Kraft, I liked him more than I liked Luke Musgrave. I know Green Bay drafted both. I like Kraft more than Musgrave, and Musgrave went earlier than him. But again, 2 good tight ends they got, and then Laporta. Of course, Laporta looked phenomenal last year. But as a prospect, I had my concerns in some areas. I had all these guys ranked higher than him. And again, you might say, oh, could you have Laporta over Washington? Washington's a backup. Coming out of the draft, I think many people have Washington over Laporta. And again, it doesn't take much to notice why. Washington, 6'7", runs a 4.5. can block like hell. Laporta's like 6'3", 6'4", 230, 240. He's decently quick, but Laporta is literally kind of reminds me of Travis Kelce. And that's a huge compliment. And Sam Laporta, you're going to be phenomenal, kid. Absolutely phenomenal. So here's my grading scale. Okay, this is how I grade these guys on. So the release or route running, catch and traffic, special catches, toes and bounds, speed, size, agility, and their fighting ability for extra yards. This is after my complete analysis, after film study, and the combine. So let's hop into this thing now. The first guy earned a 74 as his grade. Brock Bowers, 6'3", 243, did not run a 40. One more time, 6'3", 243, he did not run a 40. Let's hop into the notes. This kid seems like he has the size, speed, agility, and fight to be a great player at the next level. He's willing to take hits over the middle of the field, and he's able to make some really great catches and adjust the football when it is in the air. Not only can he do those two things great, but he's also phenomenal after the catch. He can be a guy that gets a ton of catches in the flats and be able to turn them upfield and gain plenty of yards after the catch. He can also beat the defense deep over the middle of the field. His versatility is special, which can make him a multi-dimensional player at the next level. So what's special about Brock Bowers? Well, what are his strengths? Speed, right? This guy seems fast on tape. He didn't run a 40, so we don't have an exact combine number, but on tape, he looks like he can run a upper 4.4s to at the most mid to high 4.5s. So that, for those of you that play Madden, that's like a 87 to 90 overall speed. Okay. Again, just to put it in those terms, that's what I feel like Brock Bowers would have. Okay. Really good job at catching in traffic, and he's not afraid to take a hit over the middle of the field. Adjusted the football very well. He has a lot of yards after the catch. He can get underneath, thread, dink it to him. He'll cut it upfield, gain a lot of extra yards. He can also stretch the field vertically using his speed, has great versatility. He can line up as a receiver, a slot, inside, wherever you want him. Make some really special catches, and he has really good agility. Doesn't have any weakness. A lot is in the middle, but again, a lot of strengths here to work it with if you're a team that needs a tight end. Here's his breakdown. You're more than welcome to take a look at that. Here's the next guy, Theo Johnson, 6'6", 259, ran a 4.57 40. That's pretty dang fast for a guy his size. Let's take a look at his notes. This kid made most of his work in the flats and then gained yards after the catch. He's a big guy that can run through arm tackles. He has the ability to catch passes over the middle of the field or go over a defender for a nice catch. One thing that I like about his tape is that when they utilize him down the field, he can run some pretty good routes. With his size and speed, there's a good chance that he can become something if given the opportunity. Again, this is a guy pure athleticism. Some years I would have him probably 2 right after Brock Bowers in my personal analysis, not my grade scale rankings. And again, I'll talk about my personal analysis at the end. But this is a guy, again, very raw prospect. But man, when you talk about athletics, this is like the Jelani Woods or the Darnell Washington that I kind of fell into a trap with in previous years. And I want to love Theo Johnson too for the same reasons. And watch, this will be the year I say no, and this guy turns out to be phenomenal. But here's what he's got. And I'm telling you right now, this guy's a phenomenal, phenomenal prospect. Okay, I don't care what my rankings say at the end. I'll tell you this now. Great size, 6'6", 259. That's big. That's strong, okay? Runs a 4.57 42. That's pretty dang fast for that size. Can catch a ball over the middle of the field. He's able to high point the football. Makes really good catches in traffic. He has that special catch ability. He can use his size, and he also fights for extra yards after the catch. Here's a breakdown. You're more than welcome to take a look at that. Here's the next guy, okay? Cade Stover, 6'4", 247, 4.65 40. One more time. 6'4", 447, 4.65 40. Here's his notes. This kid is a guy that can do a little bit of everything. He can block and go out for some passes. He has the ability to make some really good back shoulder catches. He is also good after the catch by either running people over or evading them. He did hurdle a few players on tape. He is one of the better route running and release tight ends in this class. So what are his strengths, right? Again, blocking. I love a guy that can block a little bit. Why? When you talk about an all-around tight end, and again, if I'm on the offense, I need a tight end that can block him. I'm calling the plays. And that's why I love TJ Hawkinson so much, because he's not afraid to get dirty. But Cade Stover Also one of those guys, willing to block and able to catch. Really good at back shoulder catches. He makes a lot of yards after the catch. He's able to hurdle defenders, make some really good catches in traffic, really good special catching ability, and also he fights for yards. Weaknesses, right? He lacks elite agility. He's not really going to break someone's ankles. But again, he has enough agility to sometimes make a guy miss an open field. Here's his breakdown. You're more than welcome to take a look at that. Here's the next guy, Erick All, earned a 67 as a grade. Okay, 6'4", 252, did not run a 40. 6'4", 252, did not run a 40. Here's his notes. This kid, in my opinion, has some of the best tape in the class. One of the best route runners out of the tight ends in this class. Has good agility, can box out defenders to high point the football while also making some really good catches. All may not be the biggest or the fastest, but his tape stood out to me. He seems like one of those guys, if given an opportunity, that could be a consistent playmaker for a team at the next level. If he runs a decent 40, it could skyrocket his value. It would need to be around a 4.75 or better. If he runs in the 4.6s, then it will really benefit his game. Oh, it drives me nuts. I said I thought it could skyrocket a little bit if it's better than a 4.75 40. If he ran a 4.6, I said this guy could skyrocket. He didn't run, which makes me wonder, are the questions about his speed legit? And if he just ran and he ran a 4.75, not great. 4.69, ooh, that was pretty dang good. 4.71, all right, And again, who knows? I thought this guy, could have potentially shocked us a little bit and ran a little bit better than what everyone's thinking. But here's his strengths, okay? He embodies out defenders really well, really, really well. He can high point the football. He's a really good route runner. He can catch in traffic. Good job again. Special catching ability, one hand, two fingers, being past center field and still hanging on to it, getting his toes in bounds. These are things All can do, and he uses his size. His weakness, again, we got to wonder if his speed's a weakness, especially considering he didn't run a 40. There's a lot of concerns. You don't run a 40, well, yeah, you're going to get knocked a little bit for it. It's going to at least be a question mark after your speed. Here's his breakdown, and again, I want to point this out. Speed's the thing that's killing him, right? On this grade scale, look at everything. B's, B pluses, A's, and then this speed right here is what kills him. Here's the next guy, Dallin Holker, all right? Earned a 66 as a grade. 6'3", 241, 4.78, 40. One more time, 6'3", 241, 4.78, 40. So again, the one thing I can tell you right away about this guy's physicals, he's not the fastest, he's not the biggest, and that's usually not a good sign. But I'll tell you something, I like the way this guy played, I like his toughness, I like his old school mentality. Let's go to his notes. This kid was fun to watch on tape. I think he is an old school bruising tight end. He is going to catch the ball and pick up extra yards almost every single time. He is not afraid to get hit hard over the middle of the field. I may be able to crown him as the best guy in traffic. He may have the best overall hands out of all the tight ends in this draft class. The question, like most players in the draft, is going to be if he will be given a fair opportunity at the next level. If he does, I think he will be good for a team. If he doesn't, then he's a guy that I'm talking highly about that never honestly truly pans out. And again, that goes for everybody. If this guy's never given a chance, he'll never be able to prove it. I just really want this guy to have a shot. So what are his strengths? Well, old school. He's old school. I love it, the style that he plays. He gets a lot of yards after the catch. He catches the ball in traffic and is not afraid to take a hit. Phenomenal hands. Maybe the best hands, especially after getting hit in the entire class. Great special catching ability. And again, uses his size on tape. Which again, he's not the most biggest guy, but he uses his body. Weakness, speed, right? When you run a 40 and you run a slow 40, it's going to be listed anyway, right? So maybe Erick All is like, that's why I didn't do it. Well, look, Holker, right, on the 4.78. There were some questions about his speed, and this kind of confirms it a little bit. His route running is also not the greatest, to be quite honest with you. And he's not the most agile guy in the world, but I'll tell you something. Give this guy a check down, he's going to turn around and try to lower his shoulder into your body, man. He's going to hit you, and you're going to feel it. Here's his breakdown. You're more than welcome to take a look at that. Here's the next guy, Jared Wiley, okay? Earned a 65 as a grade. 6'6", 249, and a 4.6, 240. Here's his notes. This kid is big and has pretty good speed for his size. There is some good tape, but I think there is a lot of untapped potential. If he is given an opportunity and is developed correctly, there's no reason he cannot be a top tight end, receiving tight end in the National Football League, purely based on athleticism. The issue is that the tight end position is not highly coveted, so most teams want instant production right away. We will see what happens with Wiley. Again, 6'6", 249, and a 4.6, 240. Again, based on pure athleticism, how is this guy not highly coveted? You know what I mean? Like, man, if coaches would coach nowadays, oh my gosh, like this guy could turn out to be in the next like Jimmy Graham, okay? So again, he has a size, he has a speed, he has a potential. Can they develop this guy? Big time developmental piece. So what are his strengths? Great size, he's 6'6", 249, able to catch a ball in traffic, special catching ability, and again has a good size. Weaknesses, route running, right? Not the best route runner, I wouldn't say. His agility, right, is a little bit lackluster again for his size. I mean, I don't know how agile you're going to be at 6'6", 249. And doesn't really fight for extra yards. That's something that kind of drives me nuts a little bit. As big as he is, usually when he gets wrapped up, he goes down. Here's his breakdown. You're more than welcome to take a look at that. Here's the next guy, Jatavion Sanders, 6'4", 245, 4.6, 940. Here's his notes. This kid seems like a bigger guy on tape. He is going to be a hard-nosed, old-school tight end. He is able to block, but also get open down the field. He may be one of the best tight ends I have seen catching the ball over the middle of the field. He is willing to take huge hits and hang on to the football. If a quarterback needs to squeeze a ball in a tight window, he will be able to catch and hang on to onto a hospital ball. This is a guy that, again, nothing's open. Well, let me just squeeze one between three defenders. He's going to get popped, but I'm going to trust him to hang on to it. Or games on the line, I'm going to squeeze a ball. I'm going to Sanders, right? This is a guy that, yeah, he's going to get brutalized over the middle of the field. And he has, like, it's just one of those guys that to me, he could be decently special. So what are his strengths? Well, he's old school, right? I think that's definitely his strength. He has no cares. He's going to fight. He's going to do everything he can. He's going to block, fight for extra yards, stiff arm, whatever that he can do. Blocking is also a strength for him, right? Really good at blocking, good at catching in traffic, not afraid to take a hit over the middle of the field, and he's a quarterback's friend. Weaknesses, right? Speed, 4.6, 940 is not the greatest, okay? Route running wasn't phenomenal, and his agility, again, not really moving too well. Here's his breakdown. You're more than welcome to take a look at that. Here's the next guy, Ben Sinnott, okay? 6'4", 250, 4.6, 840. Again, compared to Sanders, same height, 5 pounds heavier, 0.01, 40 times faster. So again, from a physical standpoint, Ben is a little bit more athletic than Sanders. There's no doubt. He's a little bit faster, 5 pounds heavier, and same height. Okay, but again, I think that, we'll see where my final rankings are, but Sanders edges out a 1-point lead over Ben in the grade scale, 64 to 63. Okay, so let's see what the strengths are here. Well, let's read the notes first, and we'll go into the strengths. This kid seems like he can do a little bit of everything. I would not say he does anything particularly well above average, but he does have some pretty good hands. He is a decent route runner as well at the tight end position. Now, again, I say he's decent as a tight end, but he's not really a good route runner. So, again, that's why it's listed as a weakness. Strengths. Can catch a ball in traffic, right? Can make some special catches. His weaknesses are his speed's not the greatest. At a 4.68, it's getting better. Like, you're getting up there. You're getting to the point where we can kind of put it in the middle. Not great, but not bad. And the route running, right? Not the greatest either. Okay? Again, it's not bad for a tight end, but it's really just not that good either. Okay? And his agility, again, is definitely below average. Here's his breakdown. You're more than welcome to take a look at that. Here's the next guy, A.J. Barner, 6'6", 251, did not run a 40, earned a 61 as his grade. One more time, 6'6", 251, did not run a 40. This guy to me, when you're 6'6", 251, and you come from Jim Harbaugh's system, I just like that idea. Now, again, was a tape hole there? Not necessarily, but again, his size, I like it. I just wish he ran a 40. So let's see what his notes say. This kid seems like he could be a good check down type tight end. On tape, he gets a lot of his catches on block and release routes. He's able to get open on mesh concepts. He is not a superstar on tape, but he has a size to be a star at the next level if he gets put in the perfect situation. He needs to be put in a good situation. Hell, I hope the freaking Chargers draft him and Harbaugh is able to utilize Barner because, again, he doesn't get a huge role, but Harbaugh knows how to use Barner. So what are his strengths? I think he's really good at the check down situations and the check and release, right? All that stuff. And he's good at catching the ball in traffic. Weakness is speed, right? Did not run a 40. We got to at least question it. He lacks his use of body and lacks elite agility. Here's his breakdown. You're more than welcome to take a look at that. And the last guy, Jaheim Bell, okay? 6'6", 241, ran a 4.61 40. One more time, 6'2", 241, ran a 4.61 40. Earned a 59 as a grade. Okay, here are his notes. And this guy is a little bit strange. You can see, not the biggest guy in the world. A little bit skinnier, a little bit shorter. Okay, let's see what we got. This kid seems like he has speed when he has an open field ahead of him. Some of the weirdest tight end tape I have ever watched. He lines up in the backfield a decent bit and takes a ton of jet touch passes around the outside. He has the agility for a tight end, but I question if this style of tight end will be utilized at the next level. So again, he has good agility for a tight end, but I question if this style of tight end will be utilized at the next level. Like jet touch passes for tight ends? What? Why not just use a fast wide receiver? So what do I mean by this? Well, I see him being more of a gadget guy. This does not mean that he won't be utilized a ton on the next level, but for him to be at his maximum potential, he needs a creative offensive coordinator. He caught more screen passes than I think I watched all the other tight ends catch throughout this process. Going to get a lower grade because I do not think he grades well as a tight end, but he could be a nice gadget piece in a creative offense. And it kind of reminds me of Benny Snell from the Steelers a few years ago, right? A guy that played running back and tight end. And why not have this guy on that list of those guys, right? He kind of reminds me of the same thing. What are his strengths? Versatility. He can line up a little bit anywhere. He jet touch pass, tight end, line up in the backfield, do whatever you want. Okay, his weaknesses are they lack height for the tight end position, 6'2". Not a great route runner. Doesn't really catch the ball in traffic that well. Lacks the use of his body in the receiving game. He doesn't really fight for extra yards after the catch. Here's his breakdown. You're more than welcome to take a look at that. Okay, so my 2024 10 rankings via the grade scale. This is not my rankings. This is according to the grade scale that you just saw, right? So the ranking goes Bowers 1, Johnson 2, Stover 3, All 4, Holker 5, Wiley 6, Sanders 7, Sinnott 8, Barner 9, Bell 10. Okay, according to the grade scale, that's what that has. Now, again, the grade scale and I disagree all the time, so let's see what else there is. 2024 draft compared to the 2023 rankings via the grade scale. So what does this mean? Well, compare to last year's guys to the grade scale to this year's guy according to the grade scale. Well, Brock Bowers ranks the top guy in both years' draft classes. He is supposed to be the best prospect. He checked most of the boxes out of all the prospects in the last 2 years according to the grade scale. Washington number 2, Mayer 3, Kincaid 4, Johnson 5, Stover 6, All 7, Holker 8, Kraft 9, Wiley 10, Sanders 11, Sinnott 12, Billingsley 13, Barner 14, Latu 15, Bell 16, Laporta 17, Musgrave 18, Schumacher 19. Now, again, one thing I want to mention, like Musgrave way down here, but really, Laporta way down here. What the hell is wrong with you? Laporta graded out low for the grade scale last year, and that's why it's only down to 17. This is why I say that this system, the grade scale's sometimes wrong, and sometimes I catch flaws like that, and I'll raise the grade. Other times, guys rate high, and I put them low, and I'm wrong. So we'll see how I do where I put guys this year compared to the grade scale, okay? So according to the grade scale, that's the rankings between the last 2 years. 2024 draft compared to 2023 rankings via personal analysis. So that's me putting this year's class versus last year's class. Well, here's what I got. Bowers number 1. I can't change last year's order, so it's still Washington 2, Mayer 3, Kincaid 4. So I want to mention this. We have one really elite tight end this year, in my opinion. Okay. And after that, you got 3 really good guys from last year. Okay. So it goes elite. Then it goes really good from last year. So this year's draft class kind of falls off a little bit. It goes from elite to 3 guys I think are really going to be pretty dang good tight ends at the next level if given an opportunity to good tight ends. Good tight ends. Okay, so elite, really good tight ends, good tight ends. So Stover, I think, can be a good tight end. Theo Johnson, a good tight. But again, like it's a little bit different. Like Cade Stover's a guy, and I'll break him down again. That's a little bit more polished. You may see a little bit more from him. He may have more of a consistent career. Theo Johnson may take a year or 2 to really develop, or he may never get an opportunity. But man, his potential is up here. Okay, I don't know if Stover's potential is necessarily here. It could be. I love Stover. I think he kind of reminds me of Hawkinson in some ways. But I think Johnson's a guy that could really end up in like the top 3 for freaks. I mean, freaks alone. You got Washington, Bowers, and honestly, yeah, you got guys like, like I said, Johnson, okay, and guys like that. So when you look at guys like Johnson, like Washington, like Bowers, they are freak of natures, okay? They can change the game, but will they all develop? Bowers is polished. Washington was not. Johnson's not either, and that's why he's all the way down here. Erick All, I think, had some of the best tape in the draft class. Just a speed concern, I think, is what's getting everybody. But again, if he turns out to be good, I want to be able to say, I told you so. Tucker Kraft, I like. Laporta, Holker. Okay, I have Holker at 10. Sanders, 11. I have him a lot lower than what most people have him. Sanders is usually the consensus number 2 for this year's draft class. I have him all the way down at 11 compared to the last 2 years. Musgrave, 12. Latu, 13. Wiley, 14. Sinnott, 15. Barner, 16. Bell, 17. Schumacher, 18. Billingsley, 19. I know Laporta's all the way at 9. I can't change the order from last year. And I had as Washington 1, Mayer 2, Kincaid 3. Okay. And then I had Kraft, then Laporta. And this year, honestly, as a prospect, I have coming out of the draft all Johnson, Stover, and Bowers all as better prospects coming out of the draft than Laporta. I know Laporta looked great last year, but I did not think he was a great prospect, and he proved me wrong. 2024 tight end rankings via my personal analysis. So this is the moment of truth that everyone's waiting for. What's my order? Well, here's my rankings, okay, for this year's draft class. Brock Bowers 1, Cade Stover 2, Theo Johnson 3, Erick All 4, Dallin Holker 5, Jatavion Sanders 6, Jared Wiley 7, Benson All 8, AJ Barner 9, and Jaheim Bell 10. Again, Bowers, Stover, Johnson, All, Holker, Sanders, Wiley, Sinnott, Barner, Bell. Okay, that's my order, me personally, this year. And now let's answer some of your fan questions. All right, so the first question is, how does this draft class rank compared to previous drafts? Well, here's what I think. Personally, right, you got some guys this year, as we mentioned before, right? You have the guys like Bowers, who are elite, right? Then you got a guy like Stover, who I think is just going to be consistent. Then you got Theo Johnson, who I think has a potential of being really good long term. And we can just keep on going down. Even Sanders, someone that I think that you can just thread the needle to and it can end up, making a really good grab. There's a lot of guys this year. I feel like depth-wise, it's pretty dang good. Okay? It's pretty dang. Some years there's like 2 guys, 3 guys, 1 guy. This year I feel like there's 1 elite guy, 1 guy that has the potential to be elite in Theo Johnson. So 1 elite guy for sure in Brock Bowers. 1 guy in Theo Johnson that has the capability of also being elite, and that's 2. Like, those 2 can be top 5 tight ends in the National Football League if they can put it all together. Then you have a guy like Cade Stover, who I think can be a consistent top 10 NFL tight end every single year. Kind of like those guys, like the TJ Hawkinsons, now maybe Cole Kmet of the world, the guys that are always in the conversation. But I don't know if he'll ever be top 3 necessarily, but he'll always be in the conversation for top 5, top 7. I think Stover could be that kind of a guy. Erick All, I think, is being heavily underrated. Heavily underrated. I don't know if he'll ever be given a chance, but if he does, I think he'll make a lot of it. And then you got a guy like Jared Wiley, who I think that maybe in a year or two, if a team actually develops him, he could be shockingly in the top 10 tight end conversation. See, here's the thing about tight ends. Okay. To me, I always aim towards guys that are athletic because in theory, if you get that freak, they'll be a top 3 tight end. You'll have the best tight end in the league. If you get that guy that's 6'2", 230, 240, okay route runner, or pretty good route runner, but just not a freaking nature, runs a 4.8, can block okay. So those guys, they're never going to be top 5, right? They can be around the league for years. Tyler Conklins, Irv Smith, and we can keep on talking about some of these guys that are just all around consistently okay tight ends, CJ Uzama. But if you want an elite guy, I would take a swing for some of those guys. I would take a swing for, Theo Johnson. Take a swing for a guy like, what I mentioned before, Jared Wiley. And then there's some other guys too that I mentioned. If you want to take a more guy that I feel like is more conventional, Cade Stover, I really like, really consistent. Erick All, I think, can be really good. But they're not freaking natures. They can just be really good tight ends. Not a freak, but really good. So how does it rank compared to other draft classes? I think that this year, teams can definitely get their backup tight end. With one exception, Brock Bowers is going to be a starter. Everyone else will probably start either as a backup or, like a 1B, like a guy that's not going to be great right away, but could develop into being a starter. Okay, so that's what I'll say. Last year's draft class was loaded in the sense of Michael Mayer, Kincaid. They were both starters day one, and Sam Laporte. Like, you won't have 3 starting tight ends this year's draft class. It just won't happen. But again, all around depth-wise, I feel like this is a pretty good class. Who are some of your favorite prospects in this year's class? So again, prospect-wise, pure prospect. Like, you're talking athleticism again. Bowers, Johnson, and I'm going to go and say again, Jared Wiley. And now if you're talking like someone that I truly believe could be special, like just consistently good, not necessarily special, but still top 5 conversation every year, maybe like a good fantasy or sleeper dynasty guy. Again, those are the more Cade Stovers, Erick All. I still like Holker a lot. I like the way he played, okay, et cetera, et cetera. One guy I do feel like could be a little bit overhyped and could get overdrafted is Jaheim Sanders. I think that he's a guy I would watch out for, could get drafted a little bit early, may have a chance, maybe the only guy. I'm going to mention 10 guys, and he's the only guy besides Brock Bowers to get a chance till he has the most productive NFL career. And I was like, you were wrong with Sanders, but I feel like all those other guys, if given the same chance that Sanders is going to get, would be better. Okay, so again, I'm going to put out there, I think Jaheim Sanders, as of right now, the second, could be fool's gold. It's a team that reaches a little high on him and ends up being a little bit worse than what everyone was anticipating. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Again, I might get the defense this year. I'm not too sure. I've been so dang busy with everything. It's been nuts. Our mock draft, 32 GM content random mock draft, is tomorrow, Saturday, April 13th. Okay? At 4 p.m. Eastern. We'll see you guys soon. Peace. We are Built Better.
Alrighty, set.
Hehehehe